Common question that I get asked is about non-GMO and certified organic, those lovely stamps that we see on boxes, right? So for example, this one has both, right? You see the non-GMO and the certified organic stamp right beside here, right? So this one is great, it has both, but sometimes it only has the non-GMO and consumers get really confused with this. So by law, if it is certified organic, that means by default it is non-GMO. However, if it is only non-GMO, this does not mean that it is certified organic. And we're going to go over that today. So let's start with what is a GMO. Genetically modified food. A lot of people know this already. So the most common ones, especially in grocery stores, will be soy and corn. There's obviously a whole bunch like cotton and beets, sugar beets and stuff like that. But primarily the ones to be concerned about in the grocery store would be corn and soy because they are almost in every packaged food items, okay? The issue is if they are GMO, they are usually grown Roundup ready, which means a lot of glyphosate use. So I briefly talked about glyphosate in my last post regarding soy and why it's important to buy organic soy because it is a known endocrine disruptor and it's also a known carcinogenic. So glyphosate is something they use to kill off the weeds surrounding the crops, okay? So what happens, why they needed to genetically modify the crops is to withstand the glyphosate that they use to kill off the weeds around, or else the crops would die. What we're seeing happening is a deficiency in nutrients coming from our soil. Too much use of glyphosate is ruining the integrity of our soil, which is ruining the integrity of our crops. So less nutritious. If you're building something on a toxic foundation, it's going to be built in a toxic way. Major concern is that these weeds are now becoming resistant to the glyphosate and they're having to use more and more glyphosate to kill off these super weeds. So think about it. If we are using Roundup to literally annihilate weeds beside crops, what do you think that does when you ingest foods that have been contaminated with glyphosate? It's no surprise that there is a rise in conditions such as IBS, IBD, celiac, all of these digestive disorders, probably linked to the foods that we're eating. What happens when we overuse glyphosate? Well, it contaminates everything around us. So our water, our soil, it's everywhere. So things that are not typically GMO to begin with, like wheat and oats, are now being contaminated with glyphosate, and some people are becoming intolerant to oats and wonder why. So it's really important to look for that certified organic stamp if you are concerned about your intake of synthetic pesticides, synthetic materials, Roundup, glyphosate, everything I talked about. If you want to do your due diligence, make sure you look for that certified organic stamp and not just non-GMO.